Good day, everybody. This is Rod Gower. I am delivering you the 2021 Kitchen Appliance Outlet and Signature Kitchen Suite. First, let me tell you that with COVID, we're finding that the Homebodies is for everybody is an appropriate title here. We're seeing a dramatic shift into repurposing of spaces from either their home office, gyms, quite literally the schooling for everybody who's out there with kids, whether that means you have a third bedroom or a fourth bedroom or possibly even an old office that you may have converted into something else. You're probably repurposing those again. But the whole home has become quite literally the center of our life today as we know it. And what we're seeing is, even though there's an uncertainty in the economy, the housing market is actually taking off. In fact, as early as November 30th, we even noticed that Fannie and Freddie Mae both increased their limit for housing 7.5%. So it's gone from $510,400 to $548,250. That is a massive increase by the largest arms from delivering home loans that we've seen any 1 year. And we're going to continue to see that. We anticipate you're going to continue to see shelter in place throughout the probably Q1, maybe even the Q2. Home buyer demand has obviously jumped dramatically, and you're also going to continue to see that the Federal Reserve is going to keep the interest rates exceptionally low, at least until Q2, Q3 of next year. So these are all pointing towards the housing economy moving and continue to be a boom, if you will, for our industry and for the year to come. As we move forward and we start looking at where in the housing that this boom's going, it makes more sense that you see it going from this vertical living to more horizontal suburbanite living. For those that are on the East Coast, you've probably seen it more than most. I live out in the New Jersey, New York market, and I can speak from a lot of personal experience here that we are quite literally seeing a lot of our inventory absorbed at a much faster rate than we can ever anticipate. And what you're seeing from a statistical value is that although you're seeing about 15% of the city people in vertical living would like to move to suburbs if they could, 49% of them said they would definitely move not only to the suburbs, but potentially to another city. And then what you're finding out is that a lot of other people are starting to demand more from their suburban locations and within their metropolitan locations. So this is all leading to what would be a dramatic shift, not only to our working environment, but also to how we see housing and to how we see remodeling moving forward. If we continue to look at this and we continue to look at how people are looking for new spaces, there are these multi-family, multi-living generational things that have been going on. We know that the COVID hit the older population much harder. A lot of families decided to pull their elderly family back into their homes, and in doing so, these accessory dwelling units in our industry, ADUs, pods or granny flats or different types of names have become in high demand. And we're starting to see these pods and these ADUs come throughout all over. In fact, we're seeing a lot of different residential areas even look at changing their codes to allow pods to be built in their backyards or in their existing suburban areas. So this is something we're going to continue to see take off. It's going to be these accessory dwelling units, whether they're using them as offices, using them for their elderly stay at home. But we're going to continue to see this move forward. In fact, so much more that you're going to see companies sprouting up that are going to be able to offer these as a pre-purchase package, if you will. If we move forward into the demand, if you're an NHB or you pay attention to NKBA, you would have seen that in the last probably 5 years or so, the average housing square foot has actually decreased until COVID hit. And it's been a dramatic increase since then. Realtor.com has done a lot of surveys, and there's been a lot of other manufacturers and websites that have done surveys as well. And they're all coming up to the really similar outcome, including the NHB. A bigger house with more outdoor space and an updated kitchen are all things that are on the must-have list now. So these are all things we're seeing dramatic increases on. And when you start thinking about how this impacts the homeowner or the home buyer, I should say, we start looking at it in a lot of different avenues. And what we look at now is not just their main house, but also their seasonal homes. There are many different instances where their entire towns and mountainous regions of, for instance, Montana and Idaho have seen massive surge in their home sales and home pricing due to the amount of metropolitan people leaving metropolitan who can work remotely and are buying their dream homes, if you will, where they wanted a secondary home, and they're using those for quarantine purposes. And in doing so, they're actually not only just buying them, but they're also remodeling those. So we're seeing this dramatic shift from vertical living to horizontal living, if you will, from not only being in the city, but going to suburban, from suburban even going further out into the country. And that shift is going to continue to go forward into 2021. And as we talk about these home buyers and people who are staying in place even, more than 70% of the Americans have decided to take on home improvement projects. That's dramatic. That's far more than anybody could have possibly imagined. And the biggest winners of this have been our home improvement industry. That's the Lowe's, Home Depots of the world, your local hardware stores, hopefully a lot of your local cabinet manufacturers and cabinet dealers as well. But the whole home improvement project, that entire market has seen a dramatic shift. And we already saw it on an increase, but now we're seeing it on such a trajectory that it's even hard for our own labor pools to keep up with it. So that's what you're seeing now is you're seeing a lot of these DIYers and professionals take on a lot of the demand. And you're seeing that, although it says in here there's a home professional saw 58% increase in project leads, it's not just the project leads they're seeing, it's actually the amount of money they're spending as well. So when you look at the outdoor spaces and you look at the amount of spaces being utilized, you're seeing space increase, you're seeing cost increase, and you're also seeing the amount of projects increase. So overall, remodeling has taken off very huge, and it's a benefit for all of us for another year, at least another year to come. As we move forward into this next page, we talked about it earlier, and I touched on it a little bit when I started talking about ADUs and these accessory dwelling units and how they can serve multiple purposes. But you're also finding that people are taking these opportunities to look at their homes and unutilized space, if you will, and create multi-purpose rooms or hyper-specialized rooms. This is where you get the infamous video conferencing walls, home gyms, classrooms. I mean, a lot of us have children at home, and we're having to figure out how to do virtual educations with our children. And the classroom setting's been probably one of the larger ones as well. And then I would tell you the biggest one that we're seeing a massive increase in is kitchens. The remodeling of kitchens, in the entire space has just skyrocketed through the last 6 months. So when you look at this and you start seeing what people have done, you see 40% of people have created new home gyms. The soundproofing of offices is big out there, but also the movie theater rooms. So if we're going to live in our houses and continue to live in our houses, how are we using them? And that's become very central to the remodeling purposes that are out there. What you're also starting to see is that when people get into these kitchens, it's how they want to use their kitchens. It's how they've used their kitchens, whether they've been baking bread, taking on new recipes, basically becoming a home chef. They've learned the pros and cons of their existing space, and they're looking to move that and change that for the future. So instead of taking a lot of travel, instead of doing a lot of different activities that they might have spent their money on throughout 2020 or potentially even 2021, you're seeing that the funds now are being funneled towards improving their own home lifestyle in ways that it's going to help the entire family or themselves personally. And as I mentioned, kitchens are getting the full makeover. So think about it. When people were working on their ranges or using the refrigerators or even their dishwashers and not loving them so much to begin with and now really not loving them, it created a dramatic spike in not only the appliance business, but also the full remodeling of kitchens. And what we're seeing here is that although if you were to do a survey like Ricky did, and you found that, hey, listen, the 27% versus 29% statistically is unchanged, that's not where the change came in. The change really came through with how much they're actually doing. So if 29% of the people are looking to do a remodel, they're not looking to do just a lipstick remodel where they might replace an appliance or two or maybe just paint the cabinets. What you're seeing now is full renovations. And that's what you're seeing in the graph below. It's showing you how dramatically it's taken off in full renovations from just a partial update to a full remodel. And you're going to continue to see that throughout Q1, Q2 of next year, and possibly even throughout the rest of the year. When you get to kitchens, 44% of the people believe their homes have taken the role of restaurants, and despite the restaurant reopenings. So, kind of mentioned it earlier, when people got behind their kitchens and got behind their ranges and started working on everything, not only did they try to recreate their favorite dishes from their favorite restaurants, but they wanted to take on new tasks that they felt made them a better home chef. And a lot of different things that you're seeing are people investing into pro-style appliances and looking for the specialized gadgets. And when we say specialized gadgets, it could be pasta makers, it could be different types of slicers, it could be different types of countertop appliances. But it's also going to be sous vide, and it's also going to be vacuum sealers, things that not only help them from a health perspective, but also food preservation perspective. So you're seeing a lot of different demand out there for health, for storage, and for how the people are using their kitchens. And that kind of what I said about vacuum sealing and sous vide kind of speaks volumes when you start talking about storage. So it's not just about how consumers are hoarding toilet paper these days. It goes far beyond that. It's how about, the meats, the vegetables, the fruits, because statistically speaking, there's over $1,200 a year annually goes to wasted food in every homeowner's house, and that's a lot of money that they're wasting. So you're seeing homeowners get to this aspect of using vacuum sealers and figuring out how to eat healthier and figuring out how to cook better, and that's why you're starting to see large capacities of refrigerators, large capacities of freezers. There was a point in COVID where you couldn't even find a freezer. They were in such high demand. And that's because of stockpiling of food. Now, what you're seeing now is more towards, I hate to call it a normalization, but I think we've all become somewhat immune to what's going on around us with the hoarding. And that is people are starting to realize that they can change their lifestyle and alter it. And there's different ways you can do things. And if I vacuum seal all my proteins, they'll last longer and I can use them as needed versus trying to store them in a fridge and just freezing them out of a pack straight from the grocery store. And you're finding that, people can take an opportunity to develop a professional kitchen, but also professional spaces in their house. And like the bars and wet bars or dry bars are another huge opportunity where people have taken an opportunity to look at their house, how they use it, how they want to use it, and then modify it. And you're seeing that 37% of Americans are hosting more pre-COVID levels. So that's telling you that they're taking advantage of these smaller, more intimate meetings and having people over to their houses. And in doing so, they're also going to be wanting to use their space differently. So the wet bars and the dry bar, if you will, it becomes more of a wine bar area. And you're seeing people not only do that, but you're seeing them get involved into making more entertaining type of decisions with their house and their use of space. So while we talk about all these upgrades in the kitchen, what you really got to sit back and identify is how it's upgraded the appliance are and how it's modified all the end users' experiences. And no more than that different than looking at how artificial intelligence and smart, if you will, has gone into full-blown opportunity mode with every single homeowner. So having a smart house or smart even kitchen has different meanings to different people. And it's how you use artificial intelligence and how you're using the different intelligent features behind your appliances that make it smart. And what you're finding now is that homeowners are trying to find ways to utilize and develop their own preferences for this experience that they're developing within their homes. And they are choosing appliances that are allowing them to be smart. In most cases, it could be remote diagnostics, where they put a few $1,000s of wine in a wine column and they don't want it to go bad, so they have remote diagnostics so that they can protect their investments. It could be as simple as finding ranges that you can operate and put in remote mode so that you can preheat it should you be at the store or should you be out doing something. Or maybe it's the fact that you're using sous vide and you want to be able to put something in the sous vide and start it and have it on so that when you get home, later that afternoon, you already have whatever you might have in your sous vide, whether it be a protein or something, finished. So you're finding that there's a lot of different ways for homeowners to be connected and using artificial intelligence and their and the apps that these developers have put forth for their kitchens. And I will tell you, as you move up the affluency scale, you're finding that the more affluent the customer, the more AI that they're looking to incorporate into their homes. So these are all things you need to take in consideration when you're doing remodels and asking these types of questions when you're talking to people, because they are very important to the end user. The next slide is a pretty interesting one as well, because it's talking about safety, and it's talking about how to be not only be safe at home, but also how to be more cognizant of your surroundings as well. So when you start to look at what this really means, it's really usually about air quality. It's usually about sanitation. And then it's also coming down to what types of finishes and what types of maintenance requirements am I looking at. And those are all things that consumers are looking for. So when you start talking about this with consumers, you start talking about, what are your expectations? What are you looking for? Safety and health are probably higher up on the scale than they ever have been before. And it's as simple as, my favorite one to look at is sanitization. So there's different ways, different manufacturers have come up with things to sanitize. And to me, steam is probably one of the best ones out there. It might not be a technically COVID sanitization, because that's a completely different scale, but there's a lot of different opportunities for steam to be effective for people, simply because of the allergens and everything else that could be around and associated with our lifestyles. And, I look at dishwashers that may have steam features in them. There are different refresh cabinets that are out there that can do steaming for kids' toys, things of that nature. And then you've also got laundry appliances that offer steam. And finding things that get the steam is important, because that's 212 degrees of steam injecting into whatever it's touching. So if it's a pillow, at 212 degrees, that's gonna kill a lot of different things and sanitize a lot of different things. Same thing goes with your dishwasher. Same thing goes with your laundry. So to me, the sanitization one is taken off, and you're seeing a huge spike in that requirement out there for a lot of people's remodels. But you're also seeing that, that this report's telling you that there's more than 40% of consumers that expect to spend more time cooking, and we do not expect to see that end post-COVID. We expect to see this carry forward. It's kind of one of those things where, we have taught ourselves over the last 7 months how to become very proficient at cooking or very proficient at doing things, and now we're not going to go back so much. Sure, the restaurants are open. Sure, we can go out and go dine, and yes, some of us are. However, I think a lot of us continue to spend more time at dinner, around the table with our families, or just cooking for ourselves because we found enjoyment in doing so. And that's going to be something that we can see continue to go forward and throughout all 2021 as well. So as we wrap this up, what I would like to tell you is a quick recap. There's a few things that you could look at when you're talking about where 2021 is going forward, and that's going to be how people are using their space, how they're really using their kitchens, how integrated do they want to be with smart, what does sanitization mean to them, and then also what are the health benefits are they looking for. So if they're looking for health benefits, probably the biggest thing you need to pay attention to are how you're looking to clean your surfaces, how do they prepare their foods, and then also, do they need more refrigeration than freezing space? Are they looking at fresh food eating? Do they need under-counter refrigerators? Things of that nature are all things you're going to look at when you're talking about health. And I would tell you that as we wrap this up, those are probably some of the highlights to what we see going forward for 2021. That should be a wrap. So as a recap, what we'd like to say from Signature Kitchen Suite is, if you're remodeling your kitchens and you're getting involved with your consumers, ask the questions of how they use the space. Find out how they're using their kitchen and their current appliances. If they're looking towards health benefits, ask what they're doing from a food storage capacity, whether they need more refrigeration or freezer space. Are they vacuum sealing their foods? These are all things that we see are going to be highly beneficial going into 2021. And when you're doing that, we would love it if you could think of our products as well. We do offer built-in sous vide in our ranges. Our refrigerators are one of the few out in the industry that actually help with prolonged vegetable and fruits. And we do have a lot of other unique products and smart integration built into our products, whether it be AI or home integration. So again, we'd like to take the opportunity to thank you for going through this education with us. And should you have any questions, please reach out to your local Signature Kitchen Suite representative. Thank you.